I'm Karima Brown. It's Sunday morning and it's time for The Fix. Today, Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan sketches the genesis of what ails our beleaguered power utility Eskom. More importantly, we look at whether the utility can indeed be saved and turned around. And as is custom, we take a look at our weekend newspapers to see what's made headlines this week and why. The Fix starts now. This is The Fix, where every Sunday, without fear or favour, we question the big hitters. We look and tell you what matters, how it affects you, and why you should care. And as usual, I'm joined by my sparring partner, Sunday Times and Business Day columnist, Peter Bruce. Peter, welcome. Another Sunday.
Another Sunday, another hot week in South Africa, I'm afraid, for all the wrong reasons. Our politics and our energy mix is complicated, it's angry, and it's failing, frankly.
And it's, of course, dominating our politics. We saw this
absolutely.
week.
You know, we get into the run. I'm sure the last thing Cyril Ramaphosa wanted at the start of an election campaign was another Eskom failure on this stage 4, which was declared last Monday.
Yeah.
We haven't seen for a long time, and it signifies a serious failure of a technical failure. I mean, there's a financial problem at Eskom, and there's a technical problem at Eskom. And at least we know how much money it is, yes, but we don't know what the technical issue is.
Absolutely, and that's, of course, what we're going to be discussing later. Yeah. But you wrote a really interesting column this week in the Sunday Times talking about the power utility, but particularly speaking about an important social partner, which is the unions. And they've, of course, sharpened their elbows and knives, threatening to go and strike, and also in some instances withhold their vote for the African National Congress if there's going to be any kind of unbundling.
It just seemed to me to be completely knee-jerk and silly reaction. The government's proposing, and not unreasonably, that you split up Eskom into sort of much more manageable parts, right? The generation, transmission, and distribution. And this is, you would have thought that the world was coming to an end. So Ivan Jim is saying, what kind of nonsensical, impractical arrangement is obvious the state is deliberately trying to collapse Eskom. The unions were there when capture happened.
Yes.
They cheered Brian Molefe when ululating when he came back for the second time. They allowed the Guptas to take over the Optimum coal mine for free. They didn't pick it outside the gates to stop them coming in. Those workers at that mine now, they're on food parcels. They haven't been paid for months. It's an absolute disaster. These people are literally, I think they're just dangerous, and I don't know how you negotiate with them, quite honestly.
Well, the President has indicated that he's going to have a very frank heart-to-heart. Now, of course, he is the founder in many ways of the National Union of Mine Workers.
Yeah.
We've seen them very angry with him. Peter, do you think that he's going to be able to convince them of his plan for the utility? It's a long-haul plan. We're going to have patience, but we're going to have to stay the course, and all of the social partners are going to have to stay the course.
Look, I mean, he's going to have to try and draw them into his confidence. He's got to make the effort. We had the head of COSATU on the show last week, and she was saying we weren't consulted. We just wanted to understand what's happening. Well, so you know, if she was being sincere, and that's what's required, then he should make the effort to do that, I think. If it doesn't work, he's got to go ahead and fix Eskom without their help.
Yeah.
And I see today the Sunday Times, sorry, Karima, is reporting that the government's going to bring police and probably even the military into to protect Eskom's facilities while they get...
In fact, state security is involved, and NUMSA is, of course, denying that they're involved in any acts of sabotage.
Well,
and, of course, we're going to have to now keep a very close watch on this. Zizi Kodwa was, in fact, quoted as saying that it looks like economic sabotage. The president played it down. It's not a good look. The optics of all of this obviously doesn't look good. We're going into the elections. You don't want the taps to be dry when you open it. You don't want the lights not to go on when you switch it on.
I don't think there was enough time to organise the sabotage, quite honestly. And it would have been much more messy.
Do you think it's just absolute neglect and a complete rundown?
I think it's neglect, and I think it's incompetence, and you know, there's a little leak happening in a boiler somewhere that nobody notices because they never knew it was there in the first place, and suddenly you've got a crisis in your hands because it fails. and then you've got to close down the unit.
Absolutely. And of course, one of the other big things that we know is that there's been a skills deficit at Eskom. A lot of the infrastructure is quite old. The minister reported that they spent something like 72 hours contacting engineers from all over the world that used to work there. There has been an enormous amount of pressure on skilled people who refuse to actually play the state capture game. I mean, one of the people that refused to sign off on the Tegeta coal that was of subpar standard actually died of a stress-induced heart attack. And I mean, we don't count those costs when we look at the mess that we have at Eskom.
No, look, we have, and I see when we'll be talking to the Minister of Public Enterprises in a moment, but in his reply to the State of Nation address last week, he announced that Enel, which is the big Italian utility, an international one, is sending 2 or 3 coal power stations, not engineers to South Africa, which gives you some idea of what we don't have. We don't have coal power station engineers who can tell us what's the problem. We're going to have to import these people, and they're Italians. You know, let's hope we understand what they're saying.
Well, what is really clear is that there is an incredibly loaded political environment around this. There's a lot of people who want to use this crisis to settle scores. People are talking about the end of Ramaphoria. And of course, Eskom's importance to the economy cannot be overstated.
So this
is going to require mature leadership.
This is his chance to actually secure his leadership, not for it to fail. City Press is carrying a story today which focuses on the blowback, right? On the fight against him fixing Eskom. And there's a complaint because he's established a cabinet committee and none of them are engineers. Well, as far as I know, there are no engineers in the cabinet. And nonetheless, he's been criticised for appointing ministers who lack a technical understanding of Eskom's problems. Well, I don't know who those might be.
What surprises me the most, Peter, is that Machela Koko, who should actually be arrested, is, of course, tweeting up a frenzy on social media and actually being entertained, a criminal actually being entertained and being asked for his advice. I mean, it is absolutely absurd the way in which we're approaching this matter to begin with. I mean, it is a kind of a point-scoring matter. Surely the national interest should trump the individual interest.
The president has an opportunity. You know, he's going to decree the creation of an investigating director at the NPA. A sort of Robert Mueller special counsel can do what they want, recruit who they want. He should do about 3 or 4 of them, actually, and give one just to Eskom.
Yes.
So Machela Koko can really speak to somebody who will take notes and listen to him carefully.
Yeah.
Because you're quite right. I mean, he's been part of the problem, and the amount of publicity he gets, even from established media, is quite ridiculous.
No, absolutely. And then, of course, also we need the law enforcement agencies to begin to do their work. I mean, there has been so much information that has come out. Someone like Lynn Brown, for example, we're going to be taking a look at her clips later on, constantly assured us that the utility was in top financial state, that Brian Molefe was the best thing since sliced bread. And, of course, it turned out to be blue lies.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is that we want that proclamation from the president. It surely must be written by now. This is a discussion that's been going on. He appointed Shamila Batohi in December. Sign it, sir, and just get on with it.
Absolutely. Well, we are, of course, going to be focusing on this major question when we continue. Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan joins us to look at whether our ailing power utility Eskom can indeed be saved.